reinforced my position. In addition to that, we find ourselves in a situation.
I just started it up.
When he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated.
Got my chips.
That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now
the last few seconds.
You're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally.
Why do we have so many people watching? What the fuck?
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol.
He's rolling in. Everyone wants to watch this.
I wrote on what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said.
Man, it's been trash, honestly.
We had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation.
I know,
because
right?
I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, and his administration, killed an al-Qaeda person come in and his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating. He's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
I don't know if it's supposed to be live or
not. You said we killed three people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani. The two greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. Had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved.
On this
they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie.
They're supposed to just
every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits. They're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living in one next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma.
Is that one of them that
I
got
was
arrested?
in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing.
John, I think
51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers. So he should apologize to me right now.
4-star General Stanley Shire was on your staff who said you said
there you are.
Period. That's
I said,
one.
oh my gosh.
Number two,
shout
the
out
idea,
to Madeline
the idea that I
on
have to
the Twitter.
apologize to you for anything.
She's finally using the
We've
Twitter.
done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now.
They're
doing more for veterans.
Do you see the part where he said there's like
right,
a bunch of trillionaires or whatever?
Topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year.
Memeable.
Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him.
I guess he dodged the drug test today. Did you hear about that?
They like me more than just about any of them.
What you say?
And that's based on every single bit of information.
Doing a drug test.
As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew that was respected by Putin,
I mean, he is a military member.
He would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals.
Said you get on that, make some memes for Madeline.
For the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind.
So maybe this is crazy, but I feel like every time Trump is talking,
I think we're going to go in and
really
maybe
hard
take
on trying to keep
this is his dream. I talked to him about it. His dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
The whole world.
President Biden?
The whole world.
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. But the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, cause brain damage for a number of these troops.
He did.
And
I
he
saw
did nothing about it recently. Not when he was
I saw the
president.
transaction.
Here they attacked.
100%.
You know
Said
what?
they're just having headaches.
He
That's
probably
all
heard
it
he was a
is.
good pick.
He didn't do a thing.
I'm just saying.
When the attack took place. Number one. Number two.
Just saying.
We
See the
got
video
over
of
100,000
Charles beating his pig?
Americans and others
Bro,
out
yes.
of-
He's a
of
legend, dude. He's a
Afghanistan
legend.
during that era.
He's a legend. for
Number
that.
three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He didn't
Just
when they
paying
were
him
get
off,
it done.
dog.
And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I
if
never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the
No, they're
territory
not
in Ukraine.
acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people.
Goes to the U.S.
And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when he
Did you ever watch
Ukraine?
the video
What do you
about
think
how
happens to
like
Poland?
Ukraine is actually like
what do you think happens to those NATO countries?
actually
And so if you want a
Russia's,
war,
like,
you ought
territory?
to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he
Ukraine is
says
actually
and walks
Russia's? Is
away,
that what you're saying?
by the
Yeah,
way,
like it's
all
actually
that money we
Russia's.
give Ukraine and from
Technically.
weapons we
Yeah,
make
but
here in the United States, we're
that's
giving
not,
them weapons, not
that's
the
not-
money
that's
at this
not
point.
the-
And
not
our
the
NATO
truth.
allies have produced
Not the
as
truth.
much
That's what
funding for Ukraine
that's
as
what
we
Russian
have.
propaganda
That's
would say.
why
They would
it's-
say that
that's
they
why
are
we're strong.
territory.
I had no
Thank you.
idea.
Moving on to the Middle
I have
East.
No, I'm telling
In
you.
October,
No, I'm just
Hamas
telling you. But
attacked
that's
Israel,
like Russian propaganda.
killing more than 1,000
Part of the
people and
reason why
taking
they're
hundreds of
justified in taking them
hostages.
back, right?
Among
Who
those
has
held
the
and
proper
thought to still
facts?
be alive
Where do
are
I go?
5
No, exactly.
Americans.
do I
Israel's
go?
response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council, straight through the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself, have endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened in Israel? We're finding the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so they're 2 different things. Hamas cannot
You get some
allow
chicken
to
wings?
continue. We continue to send our experts.
I'm hella jealous of you right now. I mean,
So
fucking
how
potato
they can get
chips.
Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it.
Are they
And
flavored?
by the way,
or are they
they've
just
been
fried?
Greatly weakened, Tomas.
I
Greatly
fried
weakened,
them.
and they
They
should
were
be.
like given to
They
my
should
wife
be
by
eliminated.
somebody.
But you've
Somebody
got to
was
be
hitting on my
careful
wife. I
for
said,
what using
I
certain
like those
weapons
chicken wings. They look
among
good.
population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, we have Putin continue to go into NATO?
They never answer any
We have an
questions.
Article 5 agreement.
They never answer any
Attack on one
questions.
is attack on all.
I mean, they
If
kind
you
of
want to start the nuclear
they're
war
just
he keeps
shitty
talking
answers.
about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control
Broad
Ukraine and then
broad
move on to
general
Poland and other
summaries.
places.
things
See
he'll
what
do.
happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see. But before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically.
How'd they talk about crypto?
Their economy is about the same size as the
They have
United
to,
States.
right?
And they were no cars.
Crypto's
no,
like
they
a
don't
hot
want
topic.
anything
They
that
have
we
to bring it
But
up
we're
tonight,
supposed to
right?
take their
Or no?
cars,
Yeah,
their
that's what I'm
food,
wondering.
their everything, their
Yeah, me
agriculture.
too.
I changed that.
That'll be
But the
huge
big
if they
thing
do
I
talk
changed
about
I
is
it.
they
just
don't
want to
wanna
know
pay.
what.
And the only
Biden
reason
about it.
that
Like,
he
what's-
can
what's-
play
I know what
games
Trump's
with
gonna say.
NATO
It's like, yeah,
is because
well,
I got them
you
to
know,
put up hundreds
everyone
of
knows.
billions of dollars. I
What is-
said, and he's right about this. I said, no,
You know,
I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia at a very
Scaramucci
secret
came out
meeting?
in support of
28
Biden.
states at that time, nations at that time. And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's
Thank you.
bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy.
Thank you.
Former President Trump.
God,
I
every
wanna
time
ask
she
you about
says that,
January
I think
6th,
it's somewhat
2021,
like in,
after
like,
you rallied
the
your
back of my
supporters
head
that
or
day.
something.
Some
I
of them
don't know.
stormed
Like-
the Capitol to
like
stop
in
the
the other room.
constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution.
John,
What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through
Yeah,
your
I know,
action,
I saw that.
inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too
Yeah,
many
yeah,
believe
dirty-
that.
you
And let me tell
dirty
you about
dog.
January 6th. On January
She can get
6th,
mad at me, I'll tell you what.
we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. That what
God, it
happened
took
to the
him-
United
look,
States'
did you just see how
reputation
long
under
it
this
took
man's
him
leadership
to look
is
from his
horrible,
paper
including
to look at
weaponization,
Trump?
which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about,
Yeah.
where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a
I
documentary
messaged my old boss. I
like
said,
they say,
"Are you watching
but
this
she's
shit?"
saying Oh,
Are you
no,
watching
it's
these
my
assholes, I said?
responsibility. I was
And he said,
responsible for this.
Either way, we're
Because I
doomed.
offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor of, in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. You know, they've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. He went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said no,
like
this guy,
I'm at
this
like
guy
that
is
family
responsible
reunion
for
talking
doing what
to like
was done. He didn't do
my
a damn
great
thing,
grandpa.
and these people should be in jail. And they
You know, you
should
get
be
locked
the
in a
ones that are being held
conversation.
accountable. And he wants to let them
And
all out.
you're
And now
there
he
for
says
like
that he
2
loses
hours.
again,
In
such
2
a
hours,
whiner
your
that he
night
is,
was spent
that there could be a
listening to
bloodbath.
like old
Thank you,
stories
President
that have
Biden.
been
President
absolutely
Trump?
nothing.
And you still
What
don't
they've
have the
done
answer
to
to the
some
question you
people
asked.
that are so innocent,
Yeah,
you ought to be
I get
ashamed
that
of
feeling when he
yourself. What
talks.
you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people.
You kind of
When
just
they
get lost.
ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities. You go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them
I live
coming
in
and
Washington.
they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month,
in
you
your
said
opinion,
if reelected,
what was
you
the
would,
January
quote,
6th
have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail.
I mean, it was a huge deal,
your main
dude.
political
No matter which
opponent
way you
is standing on
slice it.
stage with you tonight.
I mean, if you
Can you
think,
clarify
like,
exactly what it
And
means?
it was a huge
about
deal,
telling
no
you
matter
that
which way
you
you
have
slice it.
opponents?
You
Well,
had
I said,
a shit ton of
retribution
people
is
inside
going
of
to
the
be
Capitol,
success. We're going to make this
right?
country successful again because
And
right
could
now
have
it's a
done
failing
anything.
nation.
Whether or not
retribution is
it
going to be
was, you know what I
success.
mean, a
But when he
display
talks
of
about a convicted
whatever,
felon, his
it's
son
just
is a
like, as far
convicted
as
felon
national
at a
security,
very high level. His
that's
son
an
is
issue.
convicted, going to be
Had that
convicted
happened like
probably
15
numerous
years
other times.
before,
Should have been convicted
all
before,
of
but
those
his
people would
Justice
have probably
Department
been
let the
fucking
statute of
mowed
limitations
down
lapse on
by
the
a
most important things.
fucking
But he
by
could be a
gun.
convicted
You know what I'm
felon as soon
saying?
as he gets out
Like,
of office. Joe
specifically
could be a
because of
convicted
that,
felon
as
with
far
all
as
of the
national
things that he's done.
And
He's
then,
done
like,
horrible things.
I think
All
that
of the
had
death
they
cause at
looked
the border,
little
telling
bit
the
different.
Ukrainian people
I
that
think that there
we're going to want
probably
$1
would have
billion,
been more
you
aggression
change the prosecutor.
deterring those people.
Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion.
than
If I
there
ever said
was
that,
specifically
quid
on
pro
January
quo.
6th. So I mean, like, rather that
we're not going to do anything.
nothing,
We're
I
not
don't
going to
believe
give you
that
$1 billion
anything really
unless you change
happened.
the prosecutor having to do with
You know
his
what I'm
son.
saying? But
This
I
is
would
a criminal.
say that it's
You're
definitely an
lucky.
issue,
You're
right?
lucky.
It
I
should
did
never
nothing
happen.
wrong.
It should have
We'd
never
have
have
a
happened.
system that
And
was
I think
rigged and
encouraging it
disgusting.
to
Nothing
happen.
wrong.
Thank you, President Trump.
Um,
President Biden, you
Yeah.
have said.
Do you think he
I'm
has?
going to you, sir.
Do you think
You-
though is like?
Well, you want to
I
respond?
don't
Go
think
ahead. I'll give you a
anything he
minute to
said
respond.
though has anything
The
to do with
idea
it too, though. You know
that
what I mean?
did anything wrong relative to what
Well,
you're
like
talking about is
the
outrageous.
problem is that
It's
they
simply a
know
lie,
that
number
it
one.
was like an
Number two,
organized,
the idea that you
orchestrated
have a right to
event,
seek retribution
specifically
against
by
any
the Proud
American
Boys and some
just
other
because
like
you're president
militia
is wrong.
groups.
It's simply
It's like
wrong. No president's ever
national
spoken
radicals
like that before.
that
No
they
president
specifically
in our
organized
history
it.
spoke
And there's
like
a lot
that
of
before.
evidence that
Number
foreign
three,
powers
the
actually like
crimes that you are still charged
mobilized
with.
and
And think of all the
organized
civil
people
penalties
like
you have.
through the
How many
internet.
billions of
So
dollars
like
do you owe in civil penalties
it could have been
for
outside
molesting a
forces like
woman in
Russia or
public,
other people
for
actually
doing a whole
trying to
range
make
of things, of
something
having
bad
sex with a porn
happen.
star
And the
on
fact
the
that it
night
didn't happen doesn't
while
mean that
your
it's
wife
not an
was
issue.
pregnant.
You know what I'm saying?
What are you talking
For
about?
sure.
You have the
And then
morals
I
and
also
knowledge.
think that from
Give a
the
minute,
Trump
sir.
I
side,
didn't have sex with a porn star. Number one. Number two,
no, he
that was a
didn't.
case that was
He didn't have sex
started
with a porn star.
and moved. They moved a
He's like,
high-ranking
but if I
official at
did,
DOJ into the Manhattan
she was a
DA's
professional.
office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam.
Well, I'm just saying that it sets the precedence. Like if he loses this time,
thank you, President Trump.
and then
President
they
Biden,
try
you
to
have
go
said, quote,
take
Donald
over,
Trump and his MAGA Republicans are
and he
determined to
sends people
destroy
to do
American
so,
democracy.
like it sets
Do you
a
believe
precedent
that the tens
that
of
like
millions
it
of
was like
Americans who are likely to
forgiven and it
vote
wasn't
for
that big a
President
deal?
Trump
Because I mean,
will
essentially
be
everybody
voting
got a slap on the
against
wrist.
American democracy?
You know what I mean? Rather they got
The more
some
they know
legal
about what he's done,
ramifications
yes.
or not.
The more they know about what
You know
he's
what
done.
I mean? Like you
And there's a lot more
put
coming.
yourself,
He's got a lot of
whether
cases
you
down the road
invaded
coming out.
the Capitol or
He's got a
not,
whole
you
range
put
of
yourself
issues he
in a
has to face.
position
I don't know what
to
the
like
juries will do,
be an
but I
agent
do know he has
for
real
a
problems.
force that
And
could have
so the fact that,
overthrown
could you ever think you heard any president say
like
that I'm going to
democracy in the
seek
country?
retribution?
You know what I mean?
Ever
Like
hear any
if that was
president say that
if that was
he
actually
thought
their
Hitler had
goal.
some good ideas? What got me
So
involved to run in the first place
that's
after
I
my
think
son
what the
died, I
issue is.
decided
For me,
in Iraq
I think
because of
it's
Iraq. I said I
encouraging
wasn't going to run again
a sore
until I
loser.
saw what happened in
You know what I
Charlottesville,
mean?
Virginia.
So if like
People coming out of the
if
woods
I
carrying
or
swastikas
if Trump
on
loses again
torches,
and then he's like,
torches,
okay, now we're
and
actually
singing the
taking it
same
back because
anti-Semitic
everything is
bile
rigged,
they
right?
sang
You've already cast a doubt on
back in
everything.
Germany.
It's not like the
And what
past
and
where
the young
people were
woman
just
got killed. I
respectful
spoke to the mother.
and they're just
And
like, okay,
they
we're
asked him,
gentlemen,
they
so
said,
yeah, you got me, I
what do
lost.
you
I'll
think
beat
of
you
those
next
people?
time.
The
There's
people
nothing
who were the ones that got
respectful
killed, the
or
one
like
who tried to stop him,
mature.
and the ones he said,
Do you
Like
think?
as far as
Do you
like
think the
people
election could have been rigged though? Do you
what
think?
American president would ever say Nazis
think
coming out of fields carrying torches,
people
singing
that
the same
lose are always
anti-Semitic
going to
bile,
say that they
carrying
shouldn't.
swastikas? They're fine
And
people.
I'm
also
just saying,
This
like
is
the
a guy who says
mail-in, the
Hitler's done
mail-in
some
fraud
good
debate,
things.
like the
I'd like
fact
to know
that,
what
like,
they are. The good things Hitler's done,
know,
that's what he said. This guy has no sense.
There's
they
of
have
humor.
like people on video literally putting
President
like
Trump.
freaking
Jake,
stacks
both
of
of you know that
ballots
sir
like
has been
this
totally
in the freaking
wiped out
mailboxes
because
and
when you
shit.
see the sentence,
Yeah,
it
I
said
You
think
know
that
what I
that
mean?
is
100%
manufactured to
exoneration
make
on that.
people
So he just
doubt
keeps it going. He
the
says he ran
legitimacy,
because of
but like
Charlottesville. He didn't run
historically,
because
it's
of
like less
Charlottesville.
than
He ran because it was his
0.03%
last chance.
fraud in elections.
He's not equipped to be
And so, like,
president. You know it,
That's
and
the
I
thing.
know it.
It's
It's
like, do we
ridiculous.
really
We have a
know,
debate.
though?
We're trying to justify his
I'm saying if
presidency.
that's the case, it's
His
still not
presidency,
enough to like
without
overturn
question, the
the
worst
election. It's not that
president, the
close.
worst presidency in the
You know
history
what
of
I'm
our
saying?
country. We
I don't
shouldn't be
remember-
having a debate
I don't
about
even
it. There's
remember
nothing
what
to
the-
debate.
what the-
He made up the Charlottesville
I'm just
story.
saying it's not
And
that
you'll
close.
see it's debunked all over
What
the
I think
place.
is that
every
voting needs to
anchor
be on
has
the
every
blockchain,
reasonable
so that you
anchor
can search it
has
just like if you're
debunked
using
it.
Pool
And
PM.
just the other day, it came out where it was fully
You can actually like.
debunked.
I think
It's
the
a nonsense
elections need to
story.
be on
He
the
knows that,
blockchain,
and he didn't run because
so
of
like you can
Charlottesville.
like
he used that as an
search
excuse to run.
it yourself, so
President
that the
Biden?
numbers
And
are like
debunked.
in Pool
It
PM.
happened.
or something
All
like
you have
that.
to do is listen to what was said at the time.
That's
And the idea
what I was
that
like talking about
somehow
before
that's
with
the only
like
reason I
the
ran. I
unemployment
ran because I
shit
was worried
on
a guy like
blockchain.
this
Like
guy could be
everything
elected.
government,
If he thought
everything
they were
government
good
should
people
just be on
coming
the
out of that
blockchain,
supposed to be
and then
transparent
everyone,
anyway.
carrying those,
yeah, exactly, and
carrying
everyone
those
has their
torches,
own
that he didn't
IDs,
deserve to be president.
their
Didn't
digital
deserve to be
IDs,
president at all.
and
The
you
idea
freaking you do
that
all
he's
your
talking
government
about,
things
all this
on
being
blockchain,
fabricated.
and it's
We
all
saw it with
public.
our own eyes. We saw what
And
We
happened
have the
on January
technology
6th.
to make
We
everything
saw the
better.
people
It's
breaking
private because it's
windows.
encrypted,
We saw
but it's
people
not
occupying
because the people
his own vice
using certain
president.
things.
Look, there's a
know
reason
who.
why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused
That's
to
how
endorse
voting
him
should
this
actually
time.
be done.
His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve
So
him.
much easier
Why
for
are they not
people to
endorsing
vote.
him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to
Without
be
your
right
phone.
back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Imagine
Yeah.
that, dude. If like you could vote on your blockchain, you just fucking
So did
whip
he
out your
say?
phone.
I'm not sure what this. I might have missed that. Did he say that he has the Proud Boys on standby? Could be a revolution on the horizon, or no? Maybe that's what her comment was on my comment. But yeah, what I'm saying is that they are.
Miss what some of they were talking about when we were talking.
Yeah, but they are. They're literally a standing militia. Like that's what the Proud Boys are supposed to be. Is they're like they call themselves the Minutemen, and Minutemen are another group of like white supremacist militia groups. My mom is actually on the like Minuteman watch list for like, yeah, she's like she did Hispanic outreach and worked for like the government, was like a social worker that helped like Hispanic people through the process and stuff, and then they like would threaten her and all kinds of stuff. Leave
Holy
messages
shit.
in our mailbox and stuff.
That's so
yeah, it was
fucked.
Kentucky as fuck, man. That's Kentucky as fuck, bro.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, dude. Everybody loves my mom because they think she's white whenever they see her, and then they listen to her talk, and they're like, "Oh,
And they're like, oh, you're not." Lies. Dude, this helium hotspot that I set up the other day is sick. Now, hopefully, IoT runs.
boy."
You can actually see where you are on the map. Check this shit. And you can see. I'm going to show you in a sec. Maybe.
Look,
You
shout out to my
kinda see,
favorite
like,
woman.
You can kind of see like the data of your
Yeah.
hotspot and shit, and see how many people like witnessed it and all this stuff. And I don't know how much it refreshes, but you can actually see like where you are on the map and everything. It's cool. Yeah, you just
and then another thing
get passive income every day.
Dude, another thing that got my mom on that watch list is that there was in Richmond, Kentucky, there is like a section where there was like churches and shit.
Yeah.
So for like literally like 5 years, there was permissions and permits in for there to be a mosque with all these other churches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after they're like actually about to start building and doing this, then all these people protested the mosque. They wrote a petition that the mosque shouldn't be in our like downtown Richmond, Kentucky, right? Because they're saying it's dangerous for their safety and stuff, right? Having a mosque. Anyway, so what my mom did was that she went to the city and then like put in a different, like, I think it's like a information, like that they had to like basically release all the names that were on the petition.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of those people lost their jobs, like
That's
they were
fucked
like
up.
all kinds of stuff happened.
Jesus
But it was
Christ.
like the reason that it was because I mean it was literally just people being like, what is it, afraid of foreigners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we already had Muslim people in our community. You know what I mean? It was just like they didn't want a mosque there because that was like too much, right? So it was just like a roundabout way of being, prejudicial.
Live from Georgia.
Oh, we're back,
Let's talk about
guys.
persistent challenges
We're
you
friggin'
both
back.
faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while Black unemployment dropped to a record low,
You know that
under
the
your
Tate brothers,
presidency,
they actually
Black
like copied
families
us.
still earn far less than white families.
What do you
See that?
mean?
Black mothers are
Yeah, they're
still
doing the
3
same thing.
times more likely
Oh, they're
to
streaming
die
the
from
debate?
pregnancy-related causes.
Yeah, they decided
And Black
after they saw
Americans
us doing
are
it, they were like,
missing
"We're gonna do it."
5
Even
Oh,
though
they
they
went
started
live
before us,
after
they
us.
actually
of white
talked about it.
Americans.
No.
Damn.
What do you say to
No,
Black
they
voters
went
who
before
are
us. They went like
disappointed you haven't
30
made more
minutes,
progress?
45 minutes before us.
They acknowledge they made a lot of
Well, you're
progress,
busy,
number one.
so we
In fact,
can't.
United
Yeah.
You know,
Small black
we don't have
businesses
any time.
restarted in any
So-
time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment
we
is the
do?
lowest level it's been in a long,
What can we
long
do?
time. Number three, we're trying to provide housing for black
I did see that,
Americans
Seji.
and
I'm
dealing
excited
with
about
the
this.
segregation that exists among these corporate
So-
corporations that collude to
What's
keep
his
people out of
name
their houses.
again?
In addition to that, we find that
Can you turn that back up?
the impact
It's like lower now.
on the choice that black families have to make relative to childcare is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black childcare costs. I cut them in half.
I don't.
In half.
They
You
didn't
gotta
change
make sure we
anything.
provide for
I don't think.
childcare costs. You gotta
Huh.
make sure, because when you provide that
Weird.
childcare protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. Voters who are disappointed with the progress so far.
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly.
Yeah, I think
For
he's just
example,
talking
I'm
really
mindful of
quiet.
the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home, so they can get
I don't know.
started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black
What was I gonna
families
say?
and black individuals who provided had to take
What's
out
his
student
name?
loans,
Crypto Jesus?
ballooning, that if they
Oh, is
were
he here?
engaged in nursing,
He's the only guy really in the channel with interest. Who else has interest? I don't even know.
paid their bills for 10
Like for
years,
sure.
and
Because
they
I'll
still
race,
get
obviously,
all
because
the
I
risks
have
are given out
played
to
a bunch.
Yeah.
millions of
And-
I mean, I
benefit
can
from
race
that
too. And
We're gonna
actually,
do a
by the
whole
time
lot
that
more
I
for black families.
Thank
next
you,
week, I'm
President
going to
Trump.
be back in the
And
United
he
States,
caused the
so I'll
inflation.
actually have
He's
like
blaming inflation,
ability.
and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing
mean-
black families and Hispanic families and just
Gotta do the
about everybody.
qualifiers, so
It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't.
we'll find
you look at
out.
the cost of
Ronan
food
just
was
signed up
doubled,
too, officially.
tripled, and
So
quadrupled.
we got the
They can't
16
live. They're not living
officially.
anymore.
Price
He
pool
caused
has
this
now gone up.
inflation. I gave him a
Excellent.
country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to
I
do
mean,
was
if we
leave it
win,
alone.
dude,
He destroyed it.
we can
with
split
this
it up
Green New Scam,
to the
all of the
community and
all this
everything
money
if
that's
we
being
really want
thrown out
to.
the window. He caused inflation.
So
As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that
gotta figure out
his
what we
big
want to do with it.
kill on the black people.
But we
is
gotta
the
win. It's
millions
gonna be
of
hard to
people that
win,
he's
guys.
allowed to come in through the border. They're
People
taking
are really
black
good at this
jobs
game.
now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs.
Degen the
Provided
prize.
thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities,
It's not a
including
bad
minority
idea.
communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered. If the ACA has increased, we
What?
made sure that they're.
He just went backstage and did a line of coke, probably. He's like, okay, guys.
Biden?
Eliminate that. That's
No,
what's
yeah.
challenge. He wants to
Fucking
get
went
rid
back,
of
did a
the
line,
ACA
a couple lines of
again, and they'll
coke.
try again if they win. We find ourselves in a
I
position
can open
where
my eyes again,
the
boys.
idea
I doubt that. I
we're
think
not
his heart
doing
would
any-
stop.
We put more police on the
Okay, he
street
did some
than
Adderall. He
any
did a line of
administration
Adderall.
has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing
He did some
for
caffeine. He did a
equity-
line of
equity
caffeine,
and
caffeine
making sure
pills.
people have a shot to make it.
I
There's
have a
lot
story
going on,
about that.
But in inflation, he
Caffeine
caused it
pills?
by his
Yeah.
tremendous malfeasance.
So
and
back in the day, I used to
shambled
be
the
in a
pandemic.
Thank
fraternity.
you. Another persistent challenge
And
is
one of
the
those
climate
things you
crisis.
do when you're in a
2023
fraternity,
was the hottest year in recorded
early in the
history
year or
communities
whatever, you go
across
do like
the country are
serenades to
confronting the
sororities
devastating effects of
because
extreme
you want to
heat,
have them come over and party with
intensifying
you, right?
wildfires, stronger
So you
hurricanes,
go over
and
there
rising sea
and we
levels.
sing and do
Former
little
President Trump used
Gay Boy
vowed
Magic
to
Mike
end your
stuff
opponent's
and
climate initiatives, but
go
will you
house to
take
house
any
and do your little
action as
dance.
president to slow the climate
And
crisis?
Let me just go
you get
back
real
to
tired
one
because it's like an
thing
all
about
nighter
the
thing.
Police. how
So, yeah,
close the police are.
caffeine
Almost
lines
every
of caffeine
police
pills
group
as
in the
a
nation
college
from
student.
every state
Yeah,
is
that's
supporting
fucking
Donald J.
stupid.
Trump.
Why
Almost every police
why
group.
ever do that?
And
I
what
don't
he's
know.
done
I
to
could
the
have just
black
took them.
population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't in the
Maybe it's a
1990s,
cheap
we can't
alternative.
forget that.
It's the
Super
cheap
predators was
alternative.
his name, and he called it to them, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform,
It was
and
weird.
for the
It was a weird
historically
time.
black colleges
a weird
and
time.
universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country. Opportunity zones, and the biggest beneficiary are blacks, and that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever the best numbers. He's lost
Best numbers with blacks ever.
because he's done
Blacks
a
for
horrible
Trump
job
guys.
for black people. He's
I
also
just saw
done a
that.
horrible job for
It's a different guy in a
Hispanics.
mask.
But wait till you
New
see
mask.
these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You 38 seconds left.
See?
President Trump, will you take any action as president
He
to
thinks
slow the
so.
climate crisis?
Yeah,
So
if Amish
I
dude
want
says that Biden's on
absolutely
coke, he is on
immaculate,
coke.
clean, and I
I take back.
absolutely clean air, and we had
Right
it.
after the drug
We had
test.
H2O. We had the
Amish
best
dude said
numbers
so.
ever.
You gotta
But
trust
we
him.
did. We were using all forms of energy.
Don't know who he is,
all
but you gotta
forms,
trust him,
everything.
right?
And yet,
No, he's
during
cool.
my
He's
4
cool.
years, I had the
He
best
said his
environmental
forehead changes
numbers
every week.
ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know
Yeah,
why the hell
again,
these
how
people-
did we get
Yeah,
to
I
black votes when we were
Yeah,
talking
you
about
said
climate
it's-
change?
I passed the most
Well, it's getting
extensive-
hotter, so there are more black
most
people.
extensive climate change legislation in history.
What?
We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges.
Do a shot every time
Because they don't
Biden
have-
stumbles over his
they don't have the
words.
kind of
And an hour later,
opportunities
look
that
me in the
we
eye
have
and tell me
to
that the man should
build
be the
these
leader of the
laboratories
free
and the
world.
like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. He doesn't have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a
That's
situation
funny.
where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water,
Cleanest
Didn't have
water?
a damn thing for the environment.
Cleanest water?
Out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord, I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity
If he was like
is
whistling,
climate change.
he would sound like
He
that
didn't
guy
do a
from
damn thing
Family
about it.
Guy.
He must undo all the
What's that old guy? The old
Paris
perverted
Accord
guy.
was going to cost us $1
Oh,
trillion.
Biden is racist against
China
Amish.
nothing, and
You heard it
Russia
here first,
nothing,
folks.
and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States.
Can't vote for him.
And I ended it because I didn't.
We
wanna
accept
waste
Amish
that
people.
money
Can't
because
vote
they
for
treat
'em.
us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it, and it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What
Oh
he's
my God,
doing is
Colin's is
destroying
freaking
all of our
hilarious
medical
tonight.
programs because the migrants coming in,
Uh.
they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people.
And they send
But
my
we're
money to
destroying
other
our
countries
country.
I didn't
They're
care
taking
about.
over our
Yep.
schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over
Agreed.
Social Security. He is
No one wants that
destroying
shit,
Social
bro.
Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we,
Gee,
in fact,
exactly.
we were the only ones of consequence.
Exactly.
We're not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to? The United States can't get us under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people to learn how to deal with them, just like
Oh God.
and we're moving in
We're
directions
gonna-
that are gonna significantly
We're gonna
change
do these
the elements
things.
of
I'm
climate
gonna get it mobilized. I haven't done shit the whole time I've been here, but I'm gonna do it this time.
And he's really
I'm
concerned
gonna do
about,
it this time.
about
Trust me now.
pollution and about climate. I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way,
Hey, shouts out to
Prescription
Crypto Chips, everyone. Crypto Chips
prescription
IO.
drugs, one company
Yep.
agreed
Get
that
this
they would
fancy
reduce the price to
Bitcoin chip.
$35, which I was calling for. One voluntarily.
CryptoChips.io,
I
one of our
made
channel
sure
sponsors.
every company
Beautiful.
in the world, every pharmaceutical company cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
Which side am I on? Is that
So
for
every
me,
day,
Amish dude?
millions of
Are you
Americans
asking me?
struggle just to make
I hate
ends
them
meet.
both.
For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline.
And
President
by
Biden,
the
if
way,
nothing is done to Social Security, seniors
almost
will
had
see
me
their
doing a
benefits
spit
cut
take.
in just over
If you like
10
XRP,
years.
you can go
Will
with
you name
those.
tonight one specific step
Yeah,
you're
one of those
willing to
love
crazies.
the
take
merch
to
from
keep Social Security
CryptoChips.io.
solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy.
Just gotta plug them.
Anybody that purchases
now,
any merch for
everybody
their
making
crypto
over
stuff
$170,000
should go through
pays 6%
CryptoChips.io. They're amazing.
of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one
Yes,
they
so
get.
that was my
They're
answer,
18 years
Amish
old.
dude.
The
I hate them
idea
both.
they're gonna-
They both
I'm
suck.
not- I propose
We
to
shouldn't have people that don't
everybody-
understand the internet.
millionaires pay 1%.
Are you the
Leading the
RFK? Are you
country.
for RFK?
No,
RFK?
I would not raise the cost of
Or
Social
what?
Security
Is
for anybody
RFK
under
Jr.?
I like him
$400,000.
better,
After that, I began to
but
make
I
the
also
wealthy
think he's
begin to pay
crazy.
their fair share.
But I like him
Bro,
better.
they're all just
1%
so
beyond
wild.
To be able to guarantee the
I
program
like
for the
Vivek, but
So you
even
still
some
have
of the things
82
he says
seconds
are
left.
wild,
Are there
bro.
any other measures
It's like,
that
why
you
you gotta
believe
be
that would
like
That's my
able to
problem.
help, keep Social Security solvent, or
inhuman?
is just
Why
is
can't you
that
be
one?
like
That's my
completely
problem.
human?
That one
You know what I
enough
mean?
people
Like
solve it.
completely.
But
Like
Yeah,
the
most
biggest
people
thing
like
to do is-
have
you gotta
understanding
understand
of things.
because he wants to get rid of Social
Most.
Security.
You got to
He thinks there's
imagine
plenty
how
to
many
cut in
people there
Social
are in the
Security.
United
He's
States,
going
and you
after
have to
Social
think
Security and
that there
Medicare
have to
both
be
times. And that's
a
what- and
lot
if
of
you look at the
people
pro-
that are
program
more
That are
than
wild.
qualified to
the
run the
House
country.
Republican caucus
No, I'm saying
that
more
he's
than
got
qualified to run the
supports
country.
is in fact
You have to imagine
Yes.
there are
president as
at
well.
least
The idea
thousands
that
of
we
people in
don't
the
need
United
to
States
protect
that
our
are
seniors
very
is
smart and could
ridiculous.
manage the
We
country
put,
as the
and by the way,
president and as the head of
the
the
Yes.
American public
military
has greater health
very
Yes.
well.
coverage today than ever
And then we
before.
always get some
And
fucking
under
slapdick
as I said,
assholes,
we're in a
some dick
circumstance where
weasels that they just throw up
400,000
there,
people,
and they're like, "Well, you
I
can
mean,
either pick this
40 million
asshole or
people
you can
do
pick
not
this
have insurance
asshole."
because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing
They
about
make
both
you.
smell like-
They don't even let the
Here's
other
the
person
fact.
debate though. It's like we only can have two parties. What's that kind of horse
And by
shit?
the way, the
Why
other
they?
thing
Why does it have to
we're
be
in a
like that?
situation where
Is
I
there
talk
is
about
there rules
education
written
for
somewhere
Black communities. I've raised
that we all signed, that we all agreed
the
to,
amount
that
of
was
money
like,
for
hey,
Pell Grants, another $8,000.
we gotta keep doing this every 4 years.
$70,000 a year going to be able to get $15,000.
Just like
towards
this. We
tuition.
can't change it.
It's he just doesn't know what he's talking about.
We'll change the
Thank you,
mic
President
setup.
Biden.
We'll change the mic
So I've
setup
dealt
so
with
they won't bicker.
politicians all my life. I've
But
been
we
on
won't
this
change
side of
anything
the
else.
equation for the last 8
We
years.
won't improve.
I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies.
Yeah.
I've never seen that he could look you in the face.
That's
So
fair.
many- about so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned.
I like that
Russia,
video of
Russia,
them like
Ukraine,
with baby
Ukraine,
faces.
Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after he fired that general. That general got fired. Because he's the one who's acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump.
Why
when
are
he
they
said it.
still bringing that
Number one.
up?
Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation
They're old.
where
They can only bring up what
all
they
these
remember.
millions and millions of
One
great
thing that's
illegal
we don't
aliens
even know if
coming
it's
in the
true or
country
not.
and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we
It's
have
trash,
the
bro.
fastest growing economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy in the world.
Your economy
We're
sucks
doing better than
ass.
any other nation in the world. And by the way,
Nice little
those 15
consolidation on
Nobel
Nike,
laureats
though.
who talk
He's a
about
good
being
pig.
phony, the 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected,
Fuck
we're likely to
yeah.
have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted for him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your
He's a good pig, guys.
He's a good pig.
He's a
No,
good
you gotta
pig.
put it back. You gotta put it back.
And if he said
But
that,
yeah, no, I was looking at that
we
too.
have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is,
Look at his fucking face.
He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot.
Yeah, he looks so fucking
the
confused.
FBI drained the swamp. They were no good. It's not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put him there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show.
Yeah, I actually really would like them to talk about childcare because this makes my life fucking hell.
Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired?
And I'm sure she's talking about Biden's face when he had his eyes closed right then.
Many from mental institutions. Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those.
Hopefully, okay, for the sake of us parents.
I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he
circles back on it,
our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left.
Because that's
anymore.
important.
That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
That is an important thing.
President Biden?
We're not talking.
It's fucking expensive. It's like a second mortgage, dude. Fucking childcare is fuck. They need to subsidize some fucking money to daycares and assist them in paying their employees so it stops draining the shit out of parents' pockets. Fuck.
I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online.
I don't know if I said that correctly. Subsidize. I don't know. Fucking figure it out.
They've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad.
He tried.
And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know.
But what are you going to do about child care?
4 times.
Trump.
He wants to raise everybody's taxes.
Stop being old.
By 4 times. He wants
now you're starting to be old.
To expire.
Now
so
it's a real shit show.
Including the two of you.
Now it's a complete shit show.
Nobody ever heard of
We've come full circle.
All my life, I'd grow up.
We've come full circle of shit.
Talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said,
I want Trump still because money, but fuck.
They were
just answer that. Just answer the question about childcare. I actually care about that. I do.
Knows it.
A lot.
Look, fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about. He's increased the tariff. He will increase the taxes on middle class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that we're importing. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You have the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact.
Hasn't Biden spent more money?
with
What's
China.
actually what are
We
the
had the
actual
lowest
numbers
trade
on that?
deficit with China
I want
since
to know.
2010.
Thank
We
you,
were at the
President
highest.
Biden.
We lost our
Thank you, President Biden.
They said it at the
Let's continue
beginning.
discussing an
Trump
epidemic
added
impacting
over
millions
$8
of
trillion
Americans
to
that
the
both of you have
deficit.
made a
Biden
top
added
priority in your
4.5.
first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have
That's
the
the
largest
problem. They
deficit
both
with China. He gets paid by China. He's a
stress eating
Manchurian
pretzel.
candidate. He gets money from China.
But this is not a
So I think
mukbang
he's afraid to deal with them or something.
or a mukbang.
But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money
You know
with
what
the
I'm saying.
tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history
What do you feel about his
of our
answer about that
country,
question,
and he's got the worst
Jacob?
situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a
It's
country.
not
They are killing
answering
us
the
as a country,
question.
Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way.
He said addiction. That's a
and
step
then
in the
we
right
had
direction.
to get tough. And
He did.
The drugs pouring across
Let's go.
the border.
We're back on track, boys.
Now
Boys
we're
and
back
girls,
on
we're back on track.
We bought the
Across the
certain
border,
dog.
Mexicans.
It's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen?
I hope they
the
go back to
now?
childcare. Can
It's
we
not
talk?
only the 18 million people that I
we go
believe is
back?
even low
We ask
because
the
the
same question
gotaways, they
again
don't even
because
talk
they.
about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount
I
of
want it to be
drugs
cheap.
and
I
human
want to be
trafficking
cheaper.
in women
That's the last time I'm going to be
coming
complaining.
across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so
speaking.
bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and
We should have
bypass
watched the
fentanyl was
debate that
down
had
for a
Robert
while. And I wanted to make sure we
RBJ.
use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal.
Have you set up your
More
Artrium
fentanyl machines,
testnet
more
profile
people
yet?
to detect drugs, more
we need to.
numbers of
It's going to be airdrop probably.
All the people at the border.
Oh, well,
when
yeah.
we had that
I guess
deal
I should
done,
do that.
he went,
It's on
called
Card. You're a
colleagues said, "Don't do
Cardano
it. It's going to hurt me
lover.
politically."
Okay.
I know.
He never argued it's not a good bill.
And Big Pay
My
would
dev
very
friend said it was
and Big Pay
We
would
need
very
those
much appreciate
machines.
you
We need those machines. We're
if
coming
you
down very hard
join
in
his
every
Discord
country
and
in Asia in terms
did
of
it.
Well, I mean, I'm
precursors
actually,
of
I think I'm in the
fentanyl, and
testing. I
Bill's
actually
working
need
with
to
us
do
to
it,
make
so
sure
I will.
they don't have the technology.
Yeah,
to do
I
this.
just set up
Somebody
my
told me
I just set
That's
up
what
my
we have to
testnet
do.
wallet the
We
other
need
day.
those machines.
I
Thank you,
need to do
President
it
Biden.
myself.
President Trump,
Somebody
and
told me
again,
they
the
hated
question
it.
is
I need
about
to do it myself.
Dude, they give you
Americans in the throes of
10,000
addiction right
ADA
now struggling to
testnet
get the
right off the
treatment they
get go.
Well, this
You can do a
because this
bunch of
does
stuff.
pertain it.
I don't know how much you can do on
He ended
testnet, but
remain
I
in
kind of like when
Mexico.
they give you a bunch of money on
He ended
testnet.
catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here.
Valueless money.
Yeah, it's just play around with.
Hard
It's like a
negotiations
video
in
game at that
Mexico,
point.
and I got
I'm
it
weird.
all
I
for
played
nothing.
like the
It's
venture
just like when you
capitalist
have a
game
hostage, we always
where
pay
you're making
$6
money,
billion
but
for
like
every
you're
time
not.
there's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street
You
Journal
know,
reporter.
it's like
I
a
think a good guy.
it's just
And
it's like a
he's
boredom
there
thing.
because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said, literally, as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago. But Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President.
Nothing.
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized as being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left.
This man just said he's less confident.
15 million
What?
jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought off a lot of people. The whole idea of computer chips. We used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States, and guess what? Those fabs, they call them, to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. Never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest rival. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8. But I have, how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's not act like children.
You
to
are
a
a child.
specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
I'm trying to watch that shit.
You will say right now that political violence in
gold.
any form is unacceptable.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements.
36 minutes ago, Joe Biden tweeted, Donald Trump is a convicted felon with moral
and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a
Were we
relatively
live?
small number of people that went to the Capitol.
So it was like
Yeah.
while
Many
he
cases
was,
were
it was
ushered in
while
by
it was
Yeah,
during the
he does
intermission.
Nancy Pelosi said
doesn't
it was her
he does manage
responsibility. Not
Yeah, I know,
mine.
but it
She
was
said
like
that loud and clear.
conveniently in the middle of
But the
that
answer is,
intermission, I think.
if the election is
Right?
fair,
Yeah, I
free,
think
and
that
I
was
want
about
that
30
more than
minutes ago.
anybody.
I think both
And
of
I'll
their
tell you
handicap
something.
is mental.
I wish he was a great
Wow.
president because I wouldn't be here right now.
Just
I'd
mentally.
be at one of my
Yeah.
many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all, the required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done, what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of
That's
land
his
from
answer.
Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia
I'm fine
would have
outdoors,
never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of
He's
the
a country
election,
boy. He should.
regardless of who wins?
He's a country
Yes or no,
boy,
please.
right?
If it's a fair and legal and good election,
Right.
absolutely. I would
Yes,
have
sir.
much rather
Right.
accepted these. But the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There's no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accept anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate, live from Georgia.
There's more?
It's crazy.
That's wild, dude. There's more? I needed a break after that. Holy shit. Oh, I need to make a phone call. We'll be right back.
You all right? Well. Well, here we are, watching the debate. It sucks. Shout out to Uruguay for winning.
I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border legally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows.
Told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President.
And he told me sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with.
All right, we'll be back.
Everything okay?
Yeah, there's a little scare with my fiance's dad, but he's okay.
Okay.
It is now time for the candidates to deliver their.
If you guys use Cardano, check this out. There's airdrop if you use it. Just saying.
Oh,
There's airdrop.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
There's airdrop.
Airdrop for Nike Swap too.
We have to make sure that
There is, isn't there? Do you just have to use it once, or like what is the deal?
I mean, you probably want to use it as much as you can, set some limit orders, stuff like that. You could even just watch trade.
Nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that will be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic, and he finds himself in a position where he now wants to
I don't
tax
think
you more.
Anyone
10% tariff on everything that comes
in the
United States of
position
America. what I did.
I'm trying to handle
for
that
example,
pandemic.
he
Would have
wants
done
to
a
get
like
away with get rid of the ability of Medicare.
just the
to,
best job. Not like
for the
there's no way
ability
everything would have just been
for
perfect.
the-
Ever.
It's an easy
us
thing
be
to
able
criticize.
negotiate drug prices with a big
I don't
pharma.
know.
However,
Well,
It's
guess
good or
really
bad.
lame.
we got it. We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. We're going to make sure we do something about
Oh
what
shit!
we're doing on
Charles
lead
just
pipes and all the things
endorsed
that are causing health problems
Robert Kennedy
for
Jr.
people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring
That
down
doesn't surprise me
inflation
at all.
and give people a break.
But that was what I was
Thank you,
saying is
President
I
Biden.
wish
President
we'd
Trump,
watch
you now have
that
2
debate
minutes for your
because
closing statement.
there's one that he
Like
has
so
himself
many
like
politicians,
superimposed
this man is just a complainer.
answering the
He said, we
questions,
want to do this, we
Uh-huh.
want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax.
and apparently that's
But he
fire.
doesn't do anything. He doesn't do. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves. And they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on.
What?
All right, we're done. That's it.
From the world of politics.
Well, shoot.
That's all she wrote.
Well, shoot, guys.
That's
everyone for tuning in.
Thank you, guys. Good luck at the election. I know that I'm voting for Nike because he's a good pig.
He's a good pig.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, before everyone leaves, we are sponsored by Sim Rivals.
Yep.
And this is that game. You should definitely check them out. Check them out on Twitter. Join the Discord.